The cold female CEO becomes a vegetative person. My father throws another 100 billion at me, tells me to marry her. With the thought that only a fool wouldn't take money that's offered, I quickly marry her. After the wedding, I sleep shirtless with her every night. Sometimes, I even use her black stockinged feet to satisfy my own peculiar desires. Shen Jiman, who is in a vegetative state, lies there silently, but her cheeks are always flushed pink. Her nose occasionally bleeds. Later, when she wakes up, the first thing she does is pin me down on the bed and say, "Husband, I really can't take it anymore." That year, the Shen family's only daughter was renowned everywhere. My father quickly arranged an engagement between our families, initially intending to send He Huayan there in the future, as a way to secure a good place for this youngest son. Who would have thought an accident would occur? The Shen family's only daughter became a vegetative person. My father couldn't bear to let He Huayan suffer. Only then did he remember that I was also his son. I stood at the doorway of the old Ha family house, my thin lips curving into a sarcastic smile. He Zhendong held a cigar in his hand, almost dropping it onto the expensive Persian carpet. He suddenly sat up straight from his genuine leather chair. The wrinkles at the corners of his eyes seemed to relax. "Son, you've finally come to your senses. That's really great. I am replacing your precious illegitimate son by marrying into the Shen family. Aren't you going to show any appreciation, father?" Zhendong's face immediately darkened. "What kind of talk is that? What illegitimate son? That's your brother. Only if my mother gave birth to him would he be my brother." I laughed softly, my eyes cold as ice. "He is the result of your affair. I will never acknowledge him in this lifetime." Veins bulged on Zhendong's forehead, but before getting angry, he tried to restrain himself. He took a deep breath. Ash from his cigar fell scattered. "What do you want? 100 billion? And also, after I marry into the Shen family, transfer Song Wanrou to protect your precious illegitimate son." Zhendong's face immediately stiffened. He looked at me as if I were crazy. "Have you gone mad? 100 billion would drain all my liquid capital. And Song Wanrou, isn't she your favorite bodyguard? You used to always insist on marrying her. Father just needs to say yes or no." I was starting to lose patience, turning around to leave. Zhendong slammed the table and stood up. "The day you arrive in South City, I will take care of these two matters immediately." He no longer had the mind to investigate further, just wanting to settle this matter quickly. I turned my back and waved as I grabbed the doorknob preparing to leave. Zhendong's voice sounded again from behind. "You want money? I understand. But weren't you most fond of Song Wanrou? Why are you giving her to He Huayan?" My fingers froze. The name He Huayan was like a thorn, stabbing hard into the softest part of my heart. I forcefully pushed the door open, leaving Zhendong with that question behind. I clenched my fist, silently answering his question in my heart. "Because she, just like you, father, only likes He Huayan." Returning to the villa, it was already midnight. I coldly curled my lips, suddenly pushed open Song Wanrou's door. The moment Song Wanrou looked up, I saw a deep blackness in her eyes. "Young master, do you need something from me? Tomorrow there's an auction. You'll come with me." I coldly gave my instruction, then turned to leave. Song Wanrou frowned. "I remember I requested 2 days off. I heard He Huayan will be there too." I continued without turning back. There was a moment of silence behind me. Then her low voice responded, "Understood, young master." My heart felt like it was pricked by a needle. Indeed, just mentioning He Huayan, she was ready to break all rules. Her black vest dress hugged her small waist. The morning light cast a golden rim on her cold face. In the past, at times like this, I always deliberately teased her. But today, I just emotionlessly handed over the car key, not bothering to give her another glance. Song Wanrou seemed a bit surprised, glanced at me one more time, but soon after, she shifted her gaze, silently sitting in the passenger seat. The car sped toward the auction hall. The whole way, I just looked out the window, unlike usual, not finding excuses to chat with her. The car was so quiet we could hear each other's breathing. The auction was held at the most luxurious hotel downtown. Crystal chandeliers lit up the hall like daylight. Among the magnificent outfits were powerful figures. As soon as I entered, I saw He Huayan standing in front. He was laughing and talking with several men, looking like an innocent, radiant young man. Song Wanrou's eyes immediately changed, though she still stood behind me, fulfilling her bodyguard duty, but I could feel all her attention had been captured by He Huayan. "Brother." He Huayan saw us. He immediately walked quickly over. "What a coincidence. You're also at this auction." I coldly withdrew my hand from his grasp. "Don't touch me." He Huayan's eyes reddened. He looked at Song Wanrou with grievance. "Sister Wanrou, I just want to be close to him." Song Wanrou slightly frowned. Her gaze at me carried suppressed disgust. I didn't want to get entangled with them either. Directly sat down. I was about to go to the Shen family. Relying on He Zhendong to prepare the betrothal gifts was clearly unrealistic. These things I had to prepare myself. That was also the real purpose I came to this auction. After sitting down, the first item was presented. A pigeon blood ruby necklace, starting price, 1 million. I raised my bid card without hesitation. 2 million. What surprised me was, He Huayan also raised his card. 3 million. He looked at me, smiling. "Brother, I like this item too. You don't mind letting me have it, do you? After all, your pocket money from father seems less than mine." I laughed coldly, not only less than his. From childhood to adulthood, He Zhendong gave He Huayan 5 million in monthly allowance, while I only had 500% if not for the inheritance. My mother left. I might have starved to death long ago, but now it's different. I have 100 billion, 4 million. I raised my card again. He Huayan was clearly stunned, but still gritted his teeth and raised the price. 4.5 million. 5 million. After several rounds of bidding, He Huayan's expression became increasingly difficult. Brother, where did you get so much money? Aren't you afraid you can't pay? 10 million. I directly doubled the bid, and then looked at him with a mocking smile. Why do I feel like you're the one who can't pay now? He Huayan's face turned from green to white. The guests around started whispering. At this awkward moment, a long-legged woman suddenly appeared in the hall. She loudly announced, "Sky Lantern bid." As soon as she finished, the whole hall buzzed. "Miss, do you mean a Sky Lantern bid?" The auctioneer asked in astonishment. The woman explained, "I am Miss Song's assistant." Miss Song instructed that any item the second young master looks at today, all will be purchased with a Sky Lantern bid. The auction hall immediately erupted. Discussions rang out everywhere. He Huayan was initially stunned, then revealed undisguised pride. "Where is Miss Song? Can I thank her in person?" The assistant respectfully replied, "Miss Song is currently unable to appear. At the appropriate time, she will naturally meet you." He Huayan turned to me, his eyes full of triumph. "Brother, are you still bidding?" He immediately pretended to be innocent and added, "I almost forgot. Miss Song has Sky Lantern bid for me. If you continue bidding, I am afraid you'll ruin this family. In these circles, who could be richer than Miss Song?" My expression suddenly changed. I whipped around to look at Song Wanrou, only to see her looking at He Huayan with adoration, her eyes filled with tenderness. The rest of the auction was like a romantic drama. Whenever He Huayan glanced at any item, the assistant immediately called a Sky Lantern bid. The ruby necklace, the Northern Song Dynasty Ru Kiln tea set, even Monet's water lilies painting with a starting price of 80 million, all fell into He Huayan's hands. I suddenly stood up, unable to help but challenge the assistant. "Doesn't your Miss Song leave anything for others?" The assistant carefully glanced at Song Wanrou. She nodded slightly, as if apologizing. "Young master," the assistant coldly replied, "'cause these are all gifts Miss Song is giving to the second young master. She only wishes for the second young master to enjoy this auction. As for other people's feelings, she doesn't care." I laughed sarcastically. My nails dug deep into my palm as I looked at Song Wanrou, but her eyes still followed He Huayan, who was elated beyond measure. "Song Wanrou, you're really something. Really something." The auction ended. He Huayan was surrounded by rich young men, like a star being celebrated by everyone. I couldn't stand this fake scene. Quickly walked out of the hall. Getting in the car, I immediately told the driver, "Go to nightclub." I needed alcohol to numb myself. Unexpectedly, before the car door closed, He Huayan squeezed in. "Brother, are you going to the club? I've been bored lately. Can I come with you?" I was about to chase him out, but Song Wanrou had quietly held the car door. She directly said to the driver, "Drive the whole way." He Huayan excitedly talked about today's auction. I didn't bother to respond, turning my head to look out the window. Through the reflection on the car window, I clearly saw Song Wanrou, her eyes looking at He Huayan, full of love and tenderness, while her eyes looking at me were cold and disgusted. The dreamy lights in the club, I threw back my third whiskey. The burning alcohol scorched my throat, but couldn't extinguish the resentment in my heart. On the dance floor, my body swayed. From the corner of my eye, I glimpsed Song Wanrou standing beside the VIP seat. She was supposed to be my bodyguard, but now wouldn't leave He Huayan's side for a second. He Huayan said something. When he leaned down, his lips almost touched her ear. The woman who was always cold as ice in front of me, her ear. The woman who was always cold as ice in front of me, her ear slightly reddened. I laughed coldly inside. "Soon enough, you will be able to protect He Huayan to your heart's content." At this moment, staff pushed in an iron cage. A full-grown Tibetan Mastiff was anxiously pacing back and forth. The host excitedly shouted, "Tonight's special program, Black Storm versus Red Flame. Betting channels are open." I frowned. Nightshade Club often organized bloody fights for gambling, but I always despised this. Just as I was about to leave, the iron cage suddenly made a creaking sound. The cage lock came loose. Immediately, the larger Tibetan Mastiff rammed into the cage door, charging straight into the nearest crowd. Piercing screams rang out. I saw Song Wanrou unhesitatingly turn around, instinctively rushing to He Huayan's side, holding him tight, pushing him toward the emergency exit. While I stood closest to the beast, even clearly seeing the saliva on its sharp teeth, the pain came suddenly. When the Mastiff's teeth pierced through my leg muscles, I vaguely heard the sound of fabric and flesh being torn at the same time. A piece of flesh was ripped away. Blood gushed forth. I fell to the ground. Watching the beast charge again, gunshots shook my eardrums. The Mastiff fell. The last thing I saw was Song Wanrou's back holding a gun shielding He Huayan, and the darkening ceiling spinning. When I woke up in excruciating pain, the first thing that caught my eye was the stark white ceiling. My calf felt like it was being burned with hot iron. Each breath brought pain from the wound. I laboriously turned my head. The scene outside the hospital room gave my not fully awake brain another shock. He Huayan pretended to know nothing, looking at Song Wanrou saying, "Sister Wanrou, you are his bodyguard. Why did you protect me? It's all my fault. I shouldn't have come." Song Wanrou's delicate hand gently patted his back, her voice unbelievably gentle. "Second young master, don't blame yourself. Even if I had to do it 100 times over, I would still choose to protect you first." "Why?" Hwaiyan looked up. Song Wanrou looked at him, her eyes gentle with emotion. "Because I—" A crash sounded. The cup shattered on the floor, interrupting Song Wanrou's unfinished sentence. Hwaiyan, startled like a squirrel, quickly let go of Song Wanrou, rushed to the hospital bed. Tears immediately welled up. "Brother, you're awake. How are you feeling? Does it still hurt?" "It's all my fault." My pale lips formed a cold smile. "You're an eyesore here. How could I get better?" Hwaiyan's eyes immediately reddened. He bit his lip, finally glanced at Song Wanrou, turned and ran out. Song Wanrou was about to follow, but held herself back. She turned to look at me, her voice low. "Young master, the situation was urgent then." I didn't have time to react. I said nothing, just turned my head away. I didn't want to hear. For 3 straight days, Song Wanrou stood outside the hospital room like a dedicated bodyguard, but I didn't speak another word to her. Until discharge day, I dragged my not fully healed leg straight to the study, took out a shiny black leather whip. This was the half family's traditional punishment tool. 1 lash could strip skin and tear flesh. "Call Song Wanrou in," I said to the butler. When Song Wanrou pushed the door open, I was slowly polishing the whip. "Song Wanrou, you are my bodyguard. You failed in your duty to protect your master. I am punishing you. You have no objections, do you?" Song Wanrou stood still, her pupils slightly contracted. But soon after, she bit her lip, saying softly, "No." At that moment, my heart ached sharply. I gripped the whip tightly, suddenly raised my hand. "Stop!" A tall figure suddenly rushed forward, standing in front of Song Wanrou. It was Hwaiyan. He trembled, saying, "Brother, if you want to hit someone, hit me. This has nothing to do with Sister Wanrou." "Get out of the way," I said coldly. "I want." Hwaiyan shook his head frantically. "I am the one who got you injured. If you want to punish someone, punish me." Song Wanrou reached out to pull him away. "Second young master, this has nothing to do with you." But Hwaiyan stubbornly stood in front of her, refusing to move. Seeing this scene, the anger in me exploded. I swung the whip hard. The whip tore through the air, sharp and ear-piercing. I had aimed at Song Wanrou, but Hwaiyan rushed forward, taking the full lash for her. Hwaiyan cried out in pain. His body wobbled, then collapsed. Song Wanrou quickly caught him, bending down to examine his wound. When she looked up, I faced eyes cold to the extreme. Inside was killing intent, as if the next moment she would rush over and break my neck. I froze, like falling into an ice pit. "Get out." Song Wanrou held the unconscious Hwaiyan, turned and left. The study door slammed shut behind her, making a piercing impact sound. I stood still, realizing my hands were shaking, unable to hold the whip. 3 days later, I went to choose wedding clothes myself. Just as I stepped out of the store, suddenly, someone covered my mouth and nose from behind. The strong smell of drugs invaded my nose. I struggled a few times, then quickly lost consciousness. When I woke up, before my eyes was darkness. I was blindfolded, both hands tied tightly to the chair, unable to move. Crack! The first lash came down. I arched my back in pain. The rough rope rubbed deep into my wrists. The blindfold made the darkness even thicker. I bit my lip until it tore. Only then could I swallow my painful cry. "You offended someone you shouldn't have." The executioner's voice seemed to echo from far away. Crack! 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 The whip came down like rain. Each stroke brought with it a sharp whistling sound, beating until my skin tore open, flesh stripped off. I bit my lip hard, not allowing myself to scream. Who would want to treat me like this? The whipping punishment lasted a long time. Until my consciousness became hazy, it finally stopped. Immediately after, the sound of a phone connecting rang out. The executioner respectfully said, "Miss, the task you assigned is complete." From the other end came a familiar female voice. Just 1 sentence. "Bring him back." But my entire body felt like the blood had frozen. It was Song Wanrou. She had someone beat me, just because I accidentally lashed Hwaiyan once. She had people repay me 99 times. Pain and coldness enveloped my entire body. I finally couldn't bear it. Completely passed out. Waking up again, I was lying on a hospital bed, the wounds on my back burning like fire. Outside the door, nurses whispered, "That woman is so beautiful. She's so gentle with her boyfriend. Just a small wound, and she's worried as if it's something serious." Then look at the guy in room 304. His whole body covered in injuries. No one comes to visit. I yanked out the IV, leaning against the wall step by step to the hallway. Sure enough, at the VIP room door, I saw Song Wanrou. She was holding a cup of water, carefully helping Hwaiyan drink. I slowly leaned against the wall, my eyes moist. I didn't understand. Why, even after deciding to let go, my heart still hurt so much, as if someone was using a blunt knife to slowly cut through my flesh and blood. "Don't betray yourself," I told myself, because no one would feel sorry for me. That day in the hospital, I had just returned near the Ha family house. Suddenly saw Song Wanrou get into a Rolls-Royce. I told the driver to follow from a distance. Finally, the car stopped in front of a high-end tattoo shop. Through the glass, I saw Song Wanrou take off her shirt, revealing her snow-white collarbone. The tattoo artist asked something. She pointed to a spot near her heart, said 2 words, looking at the lip movement. It was clearly Huayan. 2 hours later, Song Wanrou walked out holding her bleeding chest, face pale, but still resolutely got into the car. She told the driver, "Go to moon-gazing cliff." I sat in the car, suddenly remembered. Huayan's criteria for choosing a partner must be someone who tattoos my name near their heart. On moon-gazing cliff there is a flower, they must pick it for me. I suddenly laughed. Tears suddenly fell. I said to the driver, "Let's go, don't follow anymore." That night, I scrolled through Huayan's friend circle, a photo of thorny roses blooming on a cliff, with the caption, "Someone crossed mountains and forests, just to pick a flower for me." At 3 in the morning, Song Wanrou returned, covered in blood, her right hand broken, but the corners of her lips curved up, with a faint smile. The next morning, I was just about to go out. Song Wanrou also came out from her room, her face pale. "Young master, I had a car accident last night. Need a few more days off? Can't protect you temporarily." I knew well in my heart. She was clearly injured from climbing the cliff, but I didn't expose this lie, just faintly said, then went straight out. I went to the cemetery, knelt before my mother's tombstone, gently wiped the dust on her photo. "Mother, I am getting married soon." The Shen family girl, the vegetative one. "It's good. At least she won't cheat." Wind blew through the white chrysanthemums before the tombstone. Like a silent answer. "Mother, don't worry. I won't be like you." I touched the cold stone. "Loving someone to the point of disregarding your own life? That's too foolish. I will live well, live really well." The sky gradually darkened. I stood up, glanced at my mother's photo one last time, then turned and left. Back home, I packed my luggage all night. Clothes, watches, photo albums. I arranged each item, preparing myself to never return. When dawn broke, my phone vibrated. My account received 100 billion. Right after, He Zhendong's call came in. "The Shen family is urging, you must leave today. The money has been sent. As for Song Wanrou, I will tell her to go." I interrupted him. "From today, she is Huayan's bodyguard. I don't need her anymore." On the other end, silence for a moment. He Zhendong suddenly softened his voice. "Jinzhou, I've always loved you and your mother." I laughed. "Before I only thought father was morally corrupt. Now I know. You're truly disgusting." I hung up to directly block the number. Outside, the moving company's truck had arrived. I directed the workers carrying the luggage. Song Wanrou just then came out from her room, frowned looking at the boxes on the floor. "Young master, are you moving? Changing residence?" I didn't look up. Song Wanrou nodded, seeming not to think much of it, even less suspecting that moving in my words meant from North City to South City. I looked at her. "Go buy some candied chestnuts, send them to the house for Huayan." Song Wanrou was clearly stunned. "Why? You'll know when you go." I saw her eyes flicker slightly. Those always cold eyes flashed with a hint of wavering, but in the end, the desire to see Huayan overcame the suspicion. Song Wanrou seemed to remember something. "Young master, send me your new address after you move. I will move my things over later. A 24-hour close protection bodyguard must live with you, always ensuring your safety. This is the contract we signed." But this time, I didn't answer her. After waiting for a while, seeing I truly had no intention to respond, she thought perhaps I would send it later, then turned and left. When her figure completely disappeared, I just got in the car, told the driver, to the airport. The scenery outside the window rushed by. I took out my phone to remove the SIM card, broke it in half, then threw it out the Sixela's window, then completely disappeared from North City's sight. Song Wanrou stood before the ornately carved iron gate of the old Ha family house, holding a bag of freshly made candied chestnuts. She raised her hand to press against her chest, where Huayan was tattooed. The needle wounds still hadn't healed, still aching dully, but what was stranger still was how her heart beat unusually fast in her ribcage, as if something was tearing at her nerves, making her unable to stay calm. She frowned, attributing this strange feeling to the joy of seeing Huayan soon. When she pushed the door open, He Zhendong was standing in the middle of the living room, a reluctant expression, trying to persuade something, while Huayan had his back turned, shoulders shaking, voice full of anger. 100 billion, father. Have you gone mad?" He Zhendong lowered his voice. "Keep the Green Mountain, and you'll never worry about firewood." "Good son, I am out of options. With the Shen family, I cannot break my promise. I must send one son over there. I don't want you to step into this murky water, so I can only choose Jinzhou." But these were his conditions. "Think about it. Would you rather marry into the Shen family, or want this 100 billion? Huayan bit his lip. After a long while, finally reluctantly spoke. "Of course I won't go there. She's a vegetative person. Wouldn't that be like living as a widower? Besides, now I've caught the eye of the Song family's daughter." Speaking of this, he glimpsed Song Wanrou's figure, immediately changed his expression, turning around with a radiant smile. "Sister Wanrou, you're here." Song Wanrou hadn't clearly heard the previous conversation, just gently in response, handing over the bag of candied chestnuts. "Eat them while they're still warm." Huayan took them, his fingers deliberately brushing against her palm, smiling gently. Still warm indeed. Wanrou looked at him, the corners of her lips slightly curved. As long as second young master likes them. She should have been happy, but somehow, the strange feeling in her heart grew heavier, like something was silently getting out of control. She paused, saying, "Delivery done. I am leaving now." Hwaiyan hurriedly grabbed her sleeve. "You don't need to leave anymore." Wanrou was stunned. "What do you mean?" Hwaiyan pretended innocence. "Didn't he tell you? He has handed you over to me." Wanrou's mind instantly went blank. "What do you mean handed over?" Hwaiyan saw she was upset, immediately added fuel to the fire. "He, for 100 billion, has agreed to marry the vegetative Shen girl. This morning he already moved to South City. From now on, you're my bodyguard." Wanrou's breath suddenly halted. Getting married to Shen Jiman, the girl who once rivaled her, the Shen family's daughter, now lying in a hospital bed, a vegetative person. She suddenly remembered what I said this morning about moving. It turns out it wasn't a normal move, but to South City. In her mind, she unconsciously recalled our first meeting, last year, when the Ha family was recruiting bodyguards. She came because she admired second young master Hwaiyan, but unexpectedly, the person choosing the bodyguard was the first young master, me. She had originally intended to leave, but I spotted her immediately. That day, the sunlight was beautiful. I walked down from the spiral staircase, the sound of sneakers touching the marble floor. Clear, as if playing a melody, I pointed at her, my thin lips curved into a smile. "So beautiful. I'd choose you." Later, she discovered this first young master, was notorious in social circles, changing girlfriends faster than changing clothes, passionate, flamboyant, like a flame that never extinguished. She stayed due to a moment's impulse, telling herself this way she could be close to Hwaiyan, since we were brothers. Afterwards, I teased her many times, but my teasing was foolishly cute, pretending to slip, deliberately hugging her, wearing a sexy coat at midnight to knock on her door, even at the swimming pool pretending to drown, waiting for her to jump in and save me, only then realizing I actually couldn't swim, almost really drowning myself. Wanrou's eyes flickered. Someone as proud as me, yet for 100 billion would marry a vegetative person. Her heart suddenly ached, as if pierced by something sharp. Hwaiyan saw her distress, tugged at her sleeve with grievance. "Sister Wanrou, don't you want to stay and protect me?" Wanrou startled awake, suppressing the surging emotions inside, her voice low. "No, being able to protect the second young master is my honor." But why when saying this? Her head was full of the last look I gave her. Calm, indifferent, like looking at a stranger. "That's great." Hwaiyan hugged her waist. "Come shopping with me. I'll buy you a new outfit to celebrate." Wanrou mechanically followed him. Wasn't this what she had always wanted? To openly and rightfully protect Hwaiyan. No need to use the pretense of being my bodyguard to watch him from afar. And me, who had bullied Hwaiyan since childhood. It was good that I left. At least no one would hurt him anymore. Wanrou doting on Hwaiyan was almost to the point of infuriating. Hwaiyan liked the latest supercar model from a brand. She quietly had someone buy the entire series, sent them before him. He said he liked stars. She bought an entire area of the night sky named after him. He said he disliked someone. The next day, that person would vanish from high society. People in the circle all said the Song family's daughter had fallen for the second young master of the Ha family. The princess had fallen for the second young master of the Ha family. Those words weren't wrong. That day, Hwaiyan insisted on going to the suburbs to watch the sunset. On the way back, a truck lost control, rushing straight at their car. In that life or death moment, Wanrou jerked the steering wheel hard, moving the impact point away from the passenger seat, and then her whole body leaned over to shield Hwaiyan. Boom! The car rolled twice. Glass shattered. Airbags deployed. Wanrou's back slammed hard against the car door. Sharp metal fragments pierced her flesh. Blood immediately soaked through her clothes, but her arms still firmly held the person in her embrace, not letting him be hurt at all. "Sister Wanrou." Hwaiyan's face drained of all color, trembling as he touched her blood-covered face. "You're bleeding." Wanrou wanted to comfort him, but as soon as she opened her mouth, she coughed up blood. Before passing out, she only heard his desperate cries. When she woke up, before her eyes was the stark white ceiling of the hospital. Hwaiyan was slumped by the bed, dozing. Hearing movement, he rushed to hug her. "You scared me to death. Why are you so foolish?" He accidentally pressed on her wound. The pain made Wanrou moan softly, but she still raised her hand to gently stroke his back. "It's nothing." Hwaiyan held her, moved to tears. The doctor said the steel bar was just 1 centimeter away from piercing her heart. She still said gently, "Don't cry. This is my job. You're too good to me." Hwaiyan raised his tear-filled eyes. "You were clearly his bodyguard, but all these years have silently cared for me. Why do you treat me?" Laughed. Tears suddenly fell. I said to the driver, "Let's go. Don't follow anymore." That night, I scrolled through Hwaiyan's friend circle. A photo of thorny roses blooming on a cliff, with the caption, "Someone crossed mountains and forests just to pick a flower for me." At 3 in the morning, Wanrou returned, covered in blood, her right hand broken, but the corners of her lips curved up with a faint smile. The next morning, I was just about to go out. Song Wanrou also came out from her room, her face pale. Young master, I had a car accident last night. Need a few more days off? Can't protect you temporarily. I knew well in my heart. She was clearly injured from climbing the cliff, but I didn't expose this lie. Just faintly said, then went straight out. I went to the cemetery, knelt before my mother's tombstone, gently wiped the dust on her photo. Mother, I am getting married soon, to the Shen family girl, the vegetative one. It's good, at least she won't cheat. Wind blew through the white chrysanthemums before the tombstone, like a silent answer. Mother, don't worry, I won't be like you. I touched the cold stone. Loving someone to the point of disregarding your own life, that's too foolish. I will live well, live really well. The sky gradually darkened. I stood up, glanced at my mother's photo one last time, then turned and left. Back home, I packed my luggage all night. Clothes, watches, photo albums. I arranged each item, preparing myself to never return. When dawn broke, my phone vibrated. My account received 100 billion. Right after, He Zhendong's call came in. The Shen family is urging, you must leave today. The money has been sent. As for Song Wanrou, I will tell her to go. I interrupted him. From today, she is He Huayan's bodyguard. I don't need her anymore. On the other end, silence. For a moment, He Zhendong suddenly softened his voice. Jinzhou, I've always loved you and your mother. I laughed. Before I only thought father was morally corrupt. Now I know, you're truly disgusting. I hung up, directly blocked the number. Outside, the moving company's truck had arrived. I directed the workers carrying the luggage. Song Wanrou just then came out from her room, frowned looking at the boxes on the floor. Young master, are you moving? Changing residence? I didn't look up. Song Wanrou nodded, seeming not to think much of it, even less suspecting that moving in my words meant from North City to South City. I looked at her. Go buy some candied chestnuts, send them to the Ha house for He Huayan. Song Wanrou was clearly stunned. Why? You'll know when you go. I saw her eyes flicker slightly. Those always cold eyes flashed with a hint of wavering. But in the end, and the desire to see He Huayan overcame the suspicion. Song Wanrou seemed to remember something. Young master, send me your new address after you move. I will move my things over later. A 24-hour close protection bodyguard must live with you, always ensuring your safety. This is the contract we signed. But this time, I didn't answer her. After waiting for a while, seeing I truly had no intention to respond, she thought perhaps I would send it later, then turned and left. When her figure completely disappeared, Song Wanrou's wounds still hadn't healed. The doctors repeatedly instructed her to rest, but she insisted on leaving the hospital early. She spent billions at the most luxurious rose garden in North City, preparing a confession scene. In the garden, Juliet roses imported from France were spread everywhere, each flower personally selected by her. The music played by the orchestra. She stayed up for 3 nights to decide. The fireworks were designed according to He Huayan's tastes, set to form the name Huayan at the most romantic moment. She even personally tasted every dish. The champagne vintage was also carefully selected. Her friend, Jiang Zhaoren, watching her like this, couldn't help teasing, Miss Song, people who don't know might think you're about to get engaged. Her friend, Jiang Zhaoren, watching her like this, couldn't help teasing, Miss Song, people who don't know might think you're about to get engaged. Song Wanrou paid no mind, just lowered her head to check the time on her watch. Half an hour until the appointment, but half an hour passed. 1 hour passed. He Huayan still didn't appear. Song Wanrou stood on the rose-covered rooftop, unconsciously rubbing the diamond ring in her pocket. She called He Huayan countless times. All went unanswered. Could something have happened? She frowned, immediately contacted her subordinates to find out He Huayan's schedule today. 10 minutes later, news came back. Second young master is at Nightshade Bar. He's been there for 6 hours today. Song Wanrou was stunned. He's at the bar? Did he forget the time? But clearly yesterday he had reminded her. She gripped her phone tightly, drove straight there. Nightshade Bar was a place for high-end VIPs. The security at the door saw her trying to rush in, immediately stopped her. Miss, please show your membership card. Get lost. The manager hurriedly ran over, slapped the security guard. Are your dog eyes blind? This is Miss Song. Song Wanrou coldly walked straight to the private room on the highest floor, but before pushing the door open, she heard laughter from inside. You're really not going to meet that bodyguard? A friend's teasing voice. He Huayan laughed lazily. Go. Why would I go? Looking at her eyes, you can tell she wants to confess. How could I marry a female bodyguard? But she treats you so well, the friend continued. Taking a car hit for you, picking flowers for you, even tattooing your name on her chest. So what? He Huayan sneered. No matter how beautiful, how well she treats me, she's just a doorkeeper. Now that the Song family's daughter has noticed me, of course, I should seize the opportunity to marry into wealth. Song Wanrou's hand froze on the doorknob. The friend asked again. Then why not reject her directly? Isn't it immoral to string her along like this? What do you know? He Huayan's voice was full of pride. Beautiful, good at fighting, and willing to risk her life for me. What's bad about having another girl crazy about me? More importantly, he suddenly lowered his voice, laughing wickedly. Ha Jinzhou likes her, but she likes me. Just thinking about it, his face when his love is stolen. Like before when he liked wearing white shirts, I just said one sentence that I liked them. Father took all his white shirts and gave them to me. I wore them every day, passing in front of him, making him never wear white shirts again. Song. Wanrou felt like she was struck by lightning. The friend seemed interested. Come to think of it, you've harmed Hajin Jiao quite a bit over the years. I heard his mother had a difficult birth. Serve that woman right. He Huayan's voice suddenly turned sharp. Who told her to keep occupying Mrs. Has position and never let go? I deliberately, before she gave birth, put some abortion medicine in her water. Who knew she was so weak? Just one time and it took 2 lives. And the cancellation of Ha Jinju's study abroad, was that because you reported him for academic dishonesty? Just a forged accusation letter. He Huayan said lightly. A fool like him. Getting framed by me. At home he flew into a rage, but couldn't do anything. Who told him all the evidence pointed to him. Every word was like a poisoned knife, tearing apart the image of the pure boy who saved the bird's nest in Song Wanrou's memory. Completely transformed. The manager trembled, asking, Miss Song, are you coming in? Inside the private room there was a moment of silence. Then He Huayan's cautious voice rang out. Who's outside? Song Wanrou closed her eyes, turned to leave. Don't tell him I was ever here. In the black Maybach. Song Wanrou kept lighting cigarettes. She recalled He Huayan's words. He looked down on her. A doorkeeper, only wanted to marry into wealth. He put abortion medicine in my mother's water, causing my mother to lose 2 lives at once. He falsely accused me of academic dishonesty, making me lose my chance to study abroad. In the hazy smoke, she remembered my eyes always full of sarcasm. Remembered when I gritted my teeth, calling her a fool. He remembered my trembling hands when bandaging her. Remembered what I said before angrily leaving. Song Wanrou, I don't need you anymore. It turned out that all these years, the person she treasured was such a despicable person, and I, who was treated coldly by her, was the real victim. The cigarette burned her fingertip, but she didn't notice. In the distance, fireworks from the rose garden rose on schedule, exploding into the brilliant name Huayana. But the woman who should have been watching the fireworks was now just continuously smoking, her heart aching. She didn't understand why the good boy from years ago had become so disgusting. Slap! Her hand hit the steering wheel. Hard. She finally realized she had been in love with an illusion. That boy who saved the bird's nest had never existed. Or more accurately, it wasn't He Huayan. In her memory suddenly returned to the charity event 3 years ago. The boy in white, the sunlight, the trees. He Huayan's words suddenly appeared clearly in her mind. Back then, she asked the waiter who that boy was. The waiter only replied it was the young master of the Ha family. After that, she went abroad for company business. Only later did she have time to search for him, but learned the Ha family had 2 young masters, one wild and unrestrained, a playboy who liked to wear black, one obedient and well-behaved who liked to wear white shirts. She immediately thought, the Ha families. Young master must be the second young master, He Huayan. But thinking about it now, Song Wanrou felt like the blood in her entire body had frozen. She trembled as she called Zheng Jiaoren. Help me check the camera footage from the charity event 3 years ago in the back garden. She knew 3 years had passed. The search would certainly take time, but as each second passed, her heart became more panicked. She stared at her phone screen, so worried that the ashtray was filled with cigarette butts. The phone suddenly vibrated. She almost immediately answered. Found it, but on the other end was the respectful voice of the butler. Miss, the old master asks you to return to the old house immediately. Song Wanrou frowned. Is grandfather unwell? The old master didn't say, but his tone was very urgent. She hung up, started the car. The Song family's old house was bright with lights. Song Wanrou had just stepped into the living room. A pile of photos flew at her, scattered all over her. Song Wanrou had just stepped into the living room. A pile of photos flew at her, scattered all over her, falling all over the floor. Look at what you've been chasing all these years. The old master leaned on his cane, his face pale, being the noble daughter of the Song family, yet going to be someone's bodyguard, all for a man like this. Song Wanrou bent down to pick up the photos. Her pupils suddenly contracted. In the photos, He Huayan was shirtless, embracing numerous women. There was a wealthy older woman over 50 and a notorious widow. The most eye-catching photo was him on tiptoe, kissing the cheek of a married businesswoman, his eyes full of calculation. You thought he was a noble, self-respecting young master? The old master laughed coldly. The Ha family's fortune doesn't even qualify to cross the threshold in high society. This man, in order to climb higher, is willing to use any means. Song Wanrou gripped the photos tightly, her knuckles turning white. She suddenly remembered the words she heard at the bar today, thinking that was the limit. But unexpectedly, he gave her another big surprise. Grandfather, she had just opened her mouth. The butler hurriedly walked in. Miss, the second young master of the Ha family has sent an invitation, saying tomorrow is your birthday. He wants to come personally to give you a gift. Song Wanrou was stunned. Tomorrow was her birthday. She had originally planned after a successful confession to announce He Huayan's identity at the birthday party, to tell everyone she couldn't live without him. But now the old master slammed the table and stood up. Don't let him come. Let him come. Song Wanrou suddenly spoke, her voice cold as ice, and conveniently invite Mr. Ha as well. The butler was about to leave. Song Wanrou called him back. Find out how Ha Jin-jo has been living at the Ha house all these years. The old master narrowed his eyes. What are you planning now? There are some things I need to confirm. Song Wanrou looked up, her eyes churning with dark waves. Grandfather, give me one more day. I will give you a satisfactory answer. The old master snorted, leaning on his cane as he left, leaving with one sentence. The Song family absolutely will not allow this kind of man to enter. Song Wanrou stood in the study, looking at the thick file the butler brought. The brown paper bag was light, but felt as heavy as 1,000 pounds. She took a deep breath, opened the binding. With each page she turned, her heart felt cut by a knife. The first page was my medical record at age 7. Speech loss due to stress, lasting 3 months. Beside it was a note from the psychologist. Patient witnessed mother's difficult childbirth and death, suffering severe trauma. The next day, He Zhendong brought his illegitimate son home. Patient showed strong resistance. The paper trembled in her hands. Turning further, it was the year He Huayan entered the elite school. He Zhendong bought He Huayan a custom-made school bag worth 100,000, while I carried the old bag my mother bought before she died, washed until faded. At age 13, He Huayan's birthday party had 30 tables. I was locked in the attic. At age 16, I was admitted to a key high school. He Zhendong said my good grades were useless because I would inherit the family business anyway. He refused to pay the tuition. It was my maternal grandfather who secretly gave me money. At age 18, He Zhendong took my study abroad opportunity and forced it to be given to He Huayan. The last page was my diagnosis report at age 20. Moderate depression, with tendencies towards self-harm. Song Wanrou suddenly slammed the file shut. Her chest hurt to the point of suffocation. She suddenly remembered that time in the Ha family study, my appearance like I was going crazy. Back then, she only thought I was unreasonably causing trouble. Even because He Huayan took 1 lash, she had someone return me 99 lashes. Not long ago, she had desperately wanted to get the camera footage. I wanted to know who had moved her heart. But now, she was suddenly afraid of that answer. If the person who saved the bird's nest 3 years ago wasn't He Huayan, if it was me, if I was the one who moved her heart from the beginning, then what had she done to me? She dared not think further. The birthday party of the Song family's daughter was astonishingly grand. The entire rose garden was transformed into a medieval castle style. Crystal chandeliers reflecting magnificent light, servers carrying champagne back and forth, the orchestra playing elegant classical pieces. Almost every powerful figure in North City was present, everyone wanting to witness the true appearance of the legendary mysterious Miss Song. Song Wanrou stood on the second-floor terrace, her fingers holding a cigarette, her eyes lowered to watch the entrance of the rose garden. When Zhang Xiaoran appeared weathered at the side entrance of the hall, Song Wanrou almost rushed down the stairs. You should prepare yourself. Zhang Xiaoran handed over a tablet, hesitating. The camera footage was slightly blurry, but clearly showed 3 years ago. In the corner of the back garden at the charity event, in the screen, a young man in white, standing on tiptoe, carefully putting a falling bird's nest back onto the branch. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, dappling over him. Clean as a prince who had fallen into the mortal world. Song Wanrou's breath unconsciously stopped. In the final minute of the video, the young man finally turned around. The sunlight cast a golden rim on him, the lock of hair on his forehead wet with sweat, sticking to his fair cheek. Unlike the uninhibited appearance now, back then he was as clear as a cool stream, his face cold, handsome. Clearly it was me, Ha Jin-jo. The phone dropped heavily to the ground. Song Wanrou stared at the screen. Her heart felt gripped by an invisible hand. It turned out from the beginning, she had mistaken the person. At the other entrance to the rose garden, He Huayan and He Zhendong walked side by side. Behind them were their flattering friends. My God, what a magnificent scale, a friend exclaimed in exaggeration, as expected of Miss Song. Of course, another friend flattered. Otherwise, why would she sky lantern bid for Huayan at the auction? Why give such expensive gifts at the birthday party? He Huayan proudly lifted his chin. Enjoying the flattery, He Zhendong became even more radiant. Surrounded by the business tycoon's praise, the Ha family in North City was at most nouveau riche. When had they ever received such treatment? He was so smug, his words hinting. You all guessed right. Recently, Miss Song has indeed been very fond of Huayan. Perhaps today some good news will be announced. Miss Song is coming. The butler's voice echoed throughout the hall. All eyes turned toward the spiral staircase. Song Wanrou, in a dark purple evening gown with a low neckline, descended, the exquisite fabric hugging her small waist, diamonds adorning her neckline, flashing cold light under the lamps, her eyebrows sharp as knives, her jawline tense, her whole body exuding the oppressive aura of a superior. Each step, like treading on everyone's heart. He Huayan's eyes widened. He cried out in disbelief. Sister Wanrou, it's you? The friends only now reacted. Song Wanrou, the Song family's daughter. So, Huayan, your bodyguard is actually Miss Song? The shock on He Huayan's face gradually turned to ecstasy. So that's it. So the person who was always by his side, protecting him, was the Song family's daughter. No wonder she sky lantern bid for him at the auction. No wonder she gave such expensive gifts. He trembled with excitement, as if he could already see the future, himself becoming the heir to the Song family. He Zhendong became even more excited, hurriedly pulling his son forward. Miss, So it was you. You came to the Ha house as a bodyguard for the experience? Why didn't you say something earlier? It's all my fault for neglecting you these years. Please don't hold it against me. Song. Wanrou coldly glanced at them, raised her hand signaling the orchestra to stop. Thank you all for coming. Her voice wasn't loud, but made the entire hall fall silent. Today, I am using my birthday party to announce something. Hwaiyan's heart pounded. His cheeks flushed. He knew the moment he'd been waiting for had arrived. Everyone knows, lately I've been especially favoring the second young master of the Ha family. Song. Wanrou paused, the corner of her lips curving into a sarcastic smile, and the reason I did this was to choose a husband for my second aunt. The entire hall buzzed with whispers. Hwaiyan's smile froze on his face, his voice trembling. What? Second aunt? Sister Wanrou, what are you talking about? An old lady with white hair, leaning on a cane, was escorted out by the butler, smiling with squinted eyes at Hwaiyan. So this is my future husband. Not bad, not bad. This is my grandfather's cousin, widowed for many years, always wanting to remarry. Song. Wanrou casually introduced. Hwaiyan staggered backward. Impossible, Sister Wanrou. This joke isn't funny at all. Sister Wanrou. You're joking, right? She's old enough to be my grandmother. Who gave you permission to call the miss by name? A bodyguard slapped him. Half of Hwaiyan's face immediately swelled up. Zhendong finally reacted, hurriedly stepped forward. Miss Song, is there some misunderstanding? You clearly treated Hwaiyan. Song. Wanrou interrupted him, her voice cold as ice. My second aunt really likes your son. As long as you agree to this marriage, Song Corporation is willing to cooperate long-term with Ha Corporation. Zhendong's expression immediately changed. Long-term cooperation. That was the Song family, enough to elevate HA Corporation into the ranks of top families. Hwaiyan grabbed his father's hand in panic. Father, you won't agree, right? I am barely over 20. Zhendong hesitated for a moment, suddenly shook off his son's hand. Being able to marry into the Song family is your blessing. He fawningly looked at Song Wanrou. Miss Song, rest assured, we will register the marriage today and consummate tonight. Hwaiyan looked at Zhendong in disbelief, his mind blank. It shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be like this. He rushed to Song Wanrou, begging, Sister Wanrou, you're joking with me, right? Why don't you like me the most? You clearly for me didn't even care about your own life. Song. Wanrou stepped back, disgustedly avoiding his hand. Like you? She laughed coldly. The person I like is the kind-hearted boy from the charity event 3 years ago, not you. Hwaiyan. Hwaiyan felt like he was struck by lightning. What do you mean? I mean I mistook the person. Thought I liked you, but actually it was your brother, Ha Jinzhou. Song. Wanrou didn't look at him anymore, turned to the bodyguards. What are you standing there for? Take him away immediately. Second aunt is waiting for the wedding night. No. I don't want to. Hwaiyan screamed hysterically, but Song Wanrou didn't even spare him a glance, signaling the bodyguards to drag him away. Song Wanrou didn't even spare him a glance, signaling the bodyguards to drag him away. The party continued. Amid the clinking of glasses, Zhendong tried several times to approach for conversation, but was always coldly avoided by Song Wanrou until the party ended. Zhendong finally seized an opportunity, blocking Song Wanrou as she was about to leave. Miss Song, about the cooperation. We can discuss it in detail. Song Wanrou pointed to the parking lot. Mr. Ha, stand 10 meters away from that black Maybach and wait for me. Zhendong, without any suspicion, excitedly ran over, stood in position. The engine roared across the parking lot. Song Wanrou stepped hard on the gas. The Maybach shot like an arrow toward Zhendong. Boom! Zhendong was thrown several meters, falling hard onto the cement floor. Blood immediately stained the ground. Song Wanrou lowered the car window, calmly said to the bodyguards rushing over, treat him until he dies. The black supercar raced on the mountain road, speed reaching 200 miles per hour. Song Wanrou's hand gripping the steering wheel showed blue veins. Only after driving for an hour did she gradually calm down, whispering, Jinzhou, I've finally avenged you. She called her assistant, arrange a private jet, immediately to South City. The assistant stammered, Miss Song, I am afraid it's too late. What do you mean? Today is the wedding day of the first young master and Miss Shen. Song Wanrou slammed on the brakes. Wedding? What wedding? Isn't Shen Juman a vegetative person? This is what I was going to report to you. Miss Shen, on the first day the young master arrived in South City, suddenly woke up at the Hilton Hotel in South City. I sat in the waiting room, looking at myself in the mirror, resplendent in formal attire, still feeling like I was dreaming. I originally thought I would marry a vegetative person, live lonely for the rest of my life, but fate played a trick on me. On the first day I arrived at the Shen family, Shen Juman woke up. At that time, I was just standing by the bed, looking down at the woman who had slept for years. Her features were exquisite, sharp, her eyelashes casting faint shadows on her pale cheeks, quiet as a painting. I sighed, thinking that if she wasn't sleeping here, she must be an extremely beautiful woman. But the next moment, Shen Jimin's finger slightly moved. I backed away in shock, watching her slowly open her eyes, those dark pupils looking straight at me. In the moment our eyes met, I was so panicked my voice trembled. Doctor, she's awake. Everything that followed seemed fast-forwarded. The whole Shen family was so happy they cried. Doctors rushed in to examine, while I stood foolishly in the corner of the room, watching the woman who should have slept forever gradually regain consciousness. The Shen household was in chaos. Doctors, servants, elders of the Shen family poured in, confirming Shen Jiman had truly woken up. Mrs. Shen knelt down on the spot, holding my hand, tears flowing. Jinju, you are the lucky star of the Shen family. Later, Shen Jiman said she wanted to see me. I walked into the hospital room, thinking she would talk about canceling the wedding. After all, the Ha family had always been inferior to the Shen family. At first, I didn't understand why the Shen family agreed to this marriage. Now that she was awake, this wedding seemed even less necessary. But before I could speak, I heard her say, "Mr. Ha, do you know why the Shen family agreed to this marriage?" I shook my head. Is it because Shen Jiman's voice was soft, but each word clear? It's because of a promise to the Liang family, your mother's family. Your mother and my mother were close friends. She looked at my trembling eyelashes. They once promised each other, if they had children later, they would become in-laws. I choked up. Later your mother passed away. You didn't live well in the Ha family. Shen Jiman slowly sat up. The Liang family always wanted to take you back. The Ha family wouldn't let you go. Until He Zhendong proactively proposed an alliance marriage, the Liang family seized this opportunity to get you away from the Ha family. Therefore, Mr. Ha, whether I am awake or still sleeping, I will not marry your brother. Only you. She paused, continued saying, I've slept for too long. Need to get familiar with business again. But I promise, I am not bad. Will protect you for life. The power of the Shen family, from now on, will be your support. You don't need to be afraid anymore. At home, do whatever you want. She suddenly smiled, her voice gentle. Although we don't have feelings yet, we can marry first and love later. Build it slowly. Would you like to try? At that moment, I absently nodded. Click. The restroom door suddenly opened, pulling me from my reminiscence. I startled. Saw Shen Jiman had been standing behind me for some time. She stood on tiptoe, kissed my cheek lightly, her warm breath flowing over my skin, causing a shiver. Husband, what are you doing? She smiled softly. Tonight is our wedding night. Are you ready? My ears burned red. This woman seemed not to know the meaning of the word shy. Since waking up, she had constantly teased my emotions. I just haven't had time to react. I tried to appear calm. I am very experienced, okay? Shen Jiman raised an eyebrow, her tone intimate as if we had loved each other for years. Then isn't our Jinzhou very capable? My heart skipped a beat. Didn't you say marry first and love later? Why do you act like you're deeply in love with me already? Why did you come here? Hasn't the wedding started yet? I tried to change the subject, afraid you might be nervous. Shen Jiman took my hand, interlocking our 10 fingers. So we won't appear separately anymore? Well, walk out together, all right? I held Shen Jiman's hand, walking together into the hall. Her hand was warm, dry, inexplicably making one feel at ease. When standing outside the hall waiting to enter, I suddenly felt vague. I had imagined my wedding countless times, wearing a tailored suit, watching the bride on her father's arm, step by step, walking toward me, but that imagined figure had blurred. My heart ached in waves. I took a deep breath, completely erased that image from my mind. Ready? Shen Jiman asked softly. I nodded, smiling in response. The wedding music sounded. The doors slowly opened. Hundreds of eyes simultaneously turned toward us. She suddenly smiled, her voice gentle. Although we don't have feelings yet, we can marry first and love later. Build it slowly. How would you like to try? At that moment, I absently nodded. Click. The restroom door suddenly opened, pulling me from my reminiscence. I startled. Saw Shen Jiman had been standing behind me for some time. She stood on tiptoe, kissed my cheek lightly, her warm breath flowing over my skin, causing a shiver. Husband, what are you doing? She smiled softly. Tonight is our wedding night. Are you ready? My ears burned red. This woman seemed not to know the meaning of the word shy. Since waking up, she had constantly teased my emotions. I just haven't had time to react. I tried to appear calm. I am very experienced. Okay. Shen Jiman raised an eyebrow, her tone intimate as if we had loved each other for years. Then isn't our Jinzhou very capable? My heart skipped a beat. Didn't you say marry first and love later? Why do you act like you're deeply in love with me already? Why did you come here? Hasn't the wedding started yet? I tried to change the subject, afraid you might be nervous. Shen Jiman took my hand, interlocking our 10 fingers. So we won't appear separately anymore? Well, walk out together, all right? I held Shen Jiman's hand, walking together into the hall. Her hand was warm, dry, inexplicably making one feel at ease. When standing outside the hall waiting to enter, I suddenly felt vague. I had imagined my wedding countless times, wearing a tailored suit, watching the bride on her father's arm, step by step walking toward me, but that imagined figure had blurred. My heart ached in waves. I took a deep breath, completely erased that image from my mind. Is ready? Shen Jiman asked softly. I nodded, smiling in response. The wedding music sounded. The doors slowly opened. Hundreds of eyes simultaneously turned toward us. I unconsciously tightened my grip on Shen Jiman's hand. Don't be afraid, she whispered in my ear. I will always be by your side. Guests on both sides whispered, a talented man and a beautiful woman. Mr. Ha is so handsome. I heard it was he who awakened CEO Shen. The Shen family has found their lucky star. Since the first day I arrived in South City, all the entire Shen family treated me extraordinarily well. No contempt, no difficulties, not even any gossip. Now the guests invited by the Shen family only praised me. No one mentioned the half family. Surely, Shen Jimon had arranged this. A warmth rose in my heart. When it came to exchanging rings, the host smiled and asked, Miss Shen Jimon, do you agree to take Mr. Hajin Zhou as your husband, whether in poverty or wealth, sickness or health? I do. Shen Jimon answered without hesitation. Mr. Hajin Zhou, do you agree to take Miss Shen Jiman as your wife? Whether she... I don't agree. On the hall, doors were violently thrown open. A slender figure stood against the light. I froze. Slowly turning around, Song Wanrou stood at the door, her clothes disheveled, the lock of hair on her forehead wet with sweat, her chest heaving violently, as if she had run all the way here. Jin Zhao. Her voice was hoarse to the point of being inaudible. Don't marry her, I beg you. The guests erupted in commotion. Isn't this the Song family's daughter? What did she just say? Don't marry? Is this a wedding hijacking? My God, Miss Shen just woke up, and now the wedding has this issue. The whispers surged like waves. I clenched my palm, almost thinking I was dreaming. Why was Song Wanrou here? I watched her walk step by step toward me, her eyes bloodshot, as if she hadn't rested for a long time. Jin Zhou, she repeated once more, her voice hoarse. Don't marry her. My fingers trembled slightly. I forced myself to stay calm. Song Wanrou, why are you here? Aren't you afraid your precious He Huayan will be jealous? Song Wanrou's breath caught. Her eyes swirled with deep pain. I mistook the person. Her voice was deep and hoarse, as if suppressing countless emotions. Jin Zhou, 3 years ago, the person I liked was you, not He Huayan. All these years I was blind in my heart, loved the wrong person. She paused, hurriedly added, do you remember 3 years ago at the charity event, you climbed a tree to save a bird's nest? That day I fell in love with you at first sight, but mistook you for He Huayan. My pupils contracted, but mistook you for He Huayan. My pupils contracted. I certainly remembered clearly. That day I wore a white shirt, climbed the tree, saved a bird's nest about to fall. When I came down, I saw a girl standing behind a tree in the distance, thought she was just a passerby. So hurried away. It turns out that person was her. Song Wanrou saw me stunned. Thinking I didn't believe her, she hurriedly continued. I've investigated everything. I know He Huayan has been deceiving me all these years. The person living miserably in the house was you, not him. He put medicine in your mother's water, causing your mother to lose 2 lives at once. He also bullied you since childhood, forged accusation letters, making you lose your study abroad opportunity. I am sorry. I didn't investigate properly. I caused you to suffer wrongfully. Every word she said made my heart ache once more. The injustices and pain from the past were gently exposed by her, as if a simple mistaken person didn't investigate properly could erase all my years of wounds. I suddenly laughed, my eyes cold again. So what? A simple mistaken person didn't investigate properly. You can erase all the injustices I suffered for years? Song Wanrou's eyes flickered, her voice low like a plea. Jin Zhou, I am sorry. I'll use my whole life to make it up to you. I smiled sarcastically. Song Wanrou, do you remember for He Huayan, how you treated me? She froze, my words like knives stabbing into her heart. At the auction, you sky lantern bid for him, making me unable to get anything. On moon-gazing cliff, you picked flowers for him, not even caring about your own life. You tattooed his name on your chest, only cared about protecting him, letting me be mauled by the mastiff. And for him you took revenge on me, making me suffer 99 lashes. With each sentence I spoke, Song Wanrou's face turned one shade whiter. By the end, she could barely stand, but still clenched her fist, her nails digging deep into her palm. I am sorry. Her voice was hoarse, her eyes red. Jin Zhou, please give me a chance. She spoke quickly, as if afraid of being interrupted. I've avenged all those who bullied you. He Huayan and your father, I've dealt with them all. He Huayan married my second aunt, who's 60 years old. Your father was hit by my car and his leg broken. I showed surprise. Before I could speak, Shen Jimon coldly stepped in front of me. Enough, Miss Song. Shen Jimon coldly stepped in front of me. Enough, Miss Song. Have some self-respect. The pain in Song Wanrou's eyes immediately turned to killing intent, but she forced herself to stay calm. Looking at Shen Jiman, Miss Shen has just awakened. How much feeling can you have for Jin Zhou? Why put on such an act? If you're willing to let go, the profits from all Song Corporation projects, I'll concede 30%. The entire hall buzzed. The joint projects between Song and Shen corporations, just one would mean hundreds of billions in profit. Yet Song Wanrou was willing to concede 30%. My heart was shocked, knowing Shen Jiman was essentially a businesswoman. No one could refuse such a deal. But the next moment, Shen Jiman laughed coldly. Not needed. At the same time, the Shen family members all stood up. Mrs. Shen walked to my side, holding my hand. Jin Zhou is the son-in-law of the Shen family, not a commodity. My eyes stung, a warmth rising in my heart. Song Wanrou looked at them in disbelief. Finally, she could only look at me, her voice almost begging. Jin Zhou, please come with me, will you? I will use my whole life to make it up to you. I closed my eyes. When I opened them, my eyes held only determination. No, I turned to the host. Continue the wedding. The pain in Song Wanrou's eyes immediately turned to madness. Who dares? Her assistant hurriedly stepped forward, whispered. CEO Song, everything is arranged outside. My heart jolted, staring at Song Wanrou. What are you planning to do? Song Wanrou's eyes were bloodshot, her voice low and cruel. I've had bombs placed all around outside. If you don't agree to come with me, everyone here will die together. The entire hall immediately fell silent. I felt ice cold. You're crazy. Yes, I'm crazy. She stared at me, each word like a nail being hammered. If you marry someone else, I can be even crazier. Song Wanrou. My voice trembled. What exactly do you want? Come with me. She stared at me. Give me a chance. I don't want to. Then, well, I'll die. I was nearly driven to madness, my fingers digging into my palm. At this moment, Shen Jiman took my hand, her voice calm and firm. Then, well, I'll die. Shen Jiman took my hand, her voice calm and firm. Then, well, I'll die. The Shen family will stand with you no matter what. The Shen family members said in unison, stand together. But the guests were panicked, kneeling down one after another begging, Mr. Ha, please agree to go with her. This is your private matter. Don't involve us. That's right, Mr. Ha. We just came to attend a wedding. We're innocent. I bit my lip hard, finally took a deep breath. Fine. I looked at Song Wanrou, my voice ice cold. I'll give you 1 week. From now on, you can't go crazy anymore. Song Wanrou's eyes lit up with frenzied joy. Agreed. Shen Jiman tightened her grip on my hand. I looked at her, softly saying, trust me, it'll only go for a week, okay? Shen Jiman was silent for a long time, finally respecting me. Let go of my hand. Mrs. Shen handed me a small bag, whispering, Jinzhou, there's something important inside. Look at it when you have time. I nodded, following Song Wanrou. Song Wanrou eagerly wanted to take me to her private jet. I coldly said, if you dare, take me away from South City. I'll die right here. Go ahead and detonate everything. Song Wanrou had to compromise. All right, we won't leave. If you like South City, well, stay here. She made a call, ordered someone to prepare the most expensive villa in South City. When I entered the villa, my whole body froze in place. The villa's decoration was identical to our home before my mother passed away. Song Wanrou embraced me from behind, softly asking, do you like it? I laughed coldly. I remember. If you used to do this to please He Huayan, didn't you? Sky Lantern bidding for him, tattooing his name, even because he took 1 lash. You had someone give me 99 lashes. Song Wanrou's heart ached sharply. She held me tighter. Jinzhou, I will make it up to you. I didn't want to believe her words. Those hurts had been carved deep into my bones and blood. How could they be made up for? I turned and went into the room, slamming the door shut. Only when Song Wanrou knocked, calling me for dinner. Did I come out? Opening the door, I was stunned. Song Wanrou was wearing an apron. On the dining table were several dishes. The colors and aromas were appetizing, all dishes I liked. How you made these? I raised an eyebrow asking. She said softly, didn't want others to disturb us. I laughed coldly. You learned to cook for He Huayan, right? Song Wanrou's fingers froze. Pain flashed across her eyes. Jinzhou, can we not mention him anymore? I want to keep mentioning him. At the dining table, I taunted her with every sentence. He Huayan likes sweets, right? Did you often cook for him before? When you climbed the cliff to pick flowers for him, did you ever think you might lose your life? When he saw his name tattooed on your chest, was he moved to tears? Each sentence was like a knife-stabbing Song Wanrou's heart. From the initial pain, she gradually fell silent, finally just numbly listening. With no strength to argue back, I felt satisfied. After finishing dinner, I stood up about to return to my room. Song Wanrou suddenly called me back. Jinzhou. She held out a whip. I was stunned. What do you mean? Whip me. Her voice was hoarse. I am repaying you. I looked at her, laughed coldly. You think this makes up for it? It's not making up for it. She looked up, her eyes dark. It's what I owe you. She took out a document from her bag and handed it to me. I've already written my will. Even if you beat me to death, the Song family won't make things difficult for you. All the assets of the Song family will be left to you. My fingers trembled slightly. Then, I laughed coldly. You think I am a child? To be fooled by your sweet words? Song Wanrou looked at me, her voice so soft it was almost inaudible. Everything I say is true. Before she finished, crack, a lash struck hard across her back. Song Wanrou groaned softly, her back straight, but she bit her lip, making no sound. I didn't hold back. The second lash, the third, the sound of the whip cutting through the air, echoed sharply in the silent house. The sound of flesh tearing, mixed with the smell of blood filling the air. Song Wanrou still stood there, her back perfectly straight, not trying to avoid it. By the 99th lash, her back was a mess of blood and flesh. Blood dripped down her clothes onto the floor, frighteningly vivid. She finally staggered, but still tried to stand firm, reaching out to hold my hand. I coldly looked at her. What? Regret it now? So you want to hit back? Song Wanrou shook her head, her fingers gently rubbing my wrist. Does it hurt? I was stunned, then yanked my hand away, mocking. Song Wanrou, are you this cheap? She curved the corner of her mouth, face pale, smiling faintly. As long as you're happy, it'll be however you want. Her gentleness was unbearable to me. I turned to leave, but was called back by her again. One more thing. She handed me a knife. I frowned. What now? Wanrou violently pulled at her blood-soaked shirt, revealing the glaring tattoo on her chest. Cut it out. Her voice was hoarse. I laughed coldly. What? Don't want to keep his name anymore? As soon as I finished, Wanrou suddenly grabbed my hand, forcefully pushing the knife into her chest. Slash. Blood immediately poured out. My pupils contracted, instinctively wanting to withdraw my hand, but she held it firmly. Don't move. Her face twisted in pain, but she still insisted on holding my hand, gradually cutting away that piece of skin. Blood flowed down her chest, soaking her pants, also staining my hand. My fingers trembled. My breath almost stopped, but Wanrou seemed not to feel the pain. After completely cutting it out, she held my hand again, carving a new name on her chest, stroke by stroke. Jinzhou. The final knife stroke fell. She could no longer stand steadily, but still tried to look at me, the corner of her lips curving into a smile. Jinzhou, I love you. After saying this, she fell completely, heavily collapsing to the floor, blood spreading beneath her, like a red spider lily in full bloom. I stood frozen in place. The knife in my hand fell with a clang to the ground, suddenly feeling the cruelest revenge in the world wasn't anything but her willingness to dig out her heart and scrape her bones for me. Yet I dared not believe anymore. Song. Wanrou dreamed a dream. In the dream, in the back garden of the charity event, sunlight pouring down. She didn't go to answer her phone, but stood under the tree, watching the young man in white, carefully putting the bird's nest back on the branch. The young man jumped down, dusting off his clothes, looking up, immediately meeting her eyes. She stepped forward, her voice gentle. Hello, I am Wanrou. I'd like to get to know you. The young man blinked, proudly lifting his chin. Why? Because I am handsome? She smiled softly. The young man snorted, but his ears quietly turned red. Since you like me so much, I'll reluctantly give you a chance to get to know this young master. She held back her laughter, finding him strangely adorable. In the dream, everything proceeded naturally. She pursued him. He proudly and reluctantly responded. When in love, he doted on her to the extreme. She also acted spoiled in his arms. Finally, they walked into the wedding hall, exchanged rings amidst blessings. She stood on tiptoe to kiss him, whispering in his ear, Wanrou, you must treat me well for life. He smiled in reply, for life. Miss Song. The doctor's call pulled her from the dream. Wanrou startled awake, seeing the stark white ceiling. The pain in her back and chest reminded her. Reality had no wedding, no love, only wounds full of injuries. Where is Mr. Ha? She asked hoarsely. In the flower garden. The doctor replied. Wanrou, despite all objections, forced herself out of bed, staggering to the garden. Sunlight shone on the flower beds. I stood there, my finger gently stroking a rose. My profile in the sunlight was breathtakingly beautiful. She was about to approach, but heard me laugh softly into the phone. Yes, I miss you too. Wanrou's blood seemed to freeze. My voice carried a hint of shyness and tenderness, a gentleness she had never heard. Wife. I called softly. Those two words were like a knife, stabbing straight into Wanrou's heart. She rushed forward, grabbing my wrist tightly. What are you doing? I startled, but quickly regained composure, raising an eyebrow at her. Calling my wife? So what? Not allowed? You can't call her wife. Her voice was hoarse, eyes flaring with anger. I will call her that. I laughed coldly. Wife? Wife. With each call, Wanrou's face grew one shade paler. Finally, her eyes reddened, her voice trembling. Jinzhou, don't treat me like this. I was stunned, had never seen Wanrou like this. Humble, hurt, as if I had crushed her myself. All pride eventually meets its retribution. She curved the corner of her mouth, her smile uglier than crying. You can kill me if you want. Just don't treat me like this. I choked up. Before I could speak, Wanrou had already calmed herself, saying softly, not being by your side yesterday was my fault. She paused, taking my hand. Today I have prepared a surprise for you. Night fell. Wanrou took me to an outdoor arena. I thought it was a performance, until the host's excited voice rang out. Tonight's special program. Miss Wanrou faces off against the Black Death Mastiff. I jumped up. You're crazy. But Wanrou just smiled gently. The wounds you once suffered, it'll return 100 times over. The iron cage opened. The gigantic mastiff roared and charged out. Wanrou met it barehanded, immediately getting knocked down. Wanrou. I screamed in horror. The mastiff's sharp teeth bit into her arm. Blood sprayed out, but Wanrou only groaned softly, counterattacking with a punch to the dog's eye. The audience gasped in amazement. The battle was breathtakingly intense. Each time the mastiff charged, it brought a deadly threat. Wanrou was covered in blood, but never backed down. Finally, she barehandedly choked the dog. Before everyone's horrified eyes, choking until it stopped breathing, the entire arena fell silent. Wanrou staggered to her feet, blood and flesh mingled, but still walked step by step to me, kneeling on one knee before me, like a gesture of submission. I lost 10 pieces of flesh from the bites. She looked up at me, her voice hoarse. Repaying you 10 times over? Jinzhou, will you forgive me now? My fingers trembled. You really are crazy. Song, Wanrou smiled again. She took my hand, placing it on her blood-covered face, her eyes both frenzied and gentle. I am crazy, have been crazy for a long time. Jinzhou, only you can cure me. For the next 3 days, Song Wanrou nearly used up a lifetime's worth of romance. On the first day, she took me to the highest Ferris wheel in North City. They say if lovers kiss at the top, they'll be together forever. She stood at the cabin door, her eyes carefully showing hope. I laughed coldly. Then we should kiss at the lowest point, so we won't meet in the next life. The light in Song Wanrou's eyes immediately extinguished, but she still forced a smile. It's okay. I just wanted to show you the night view. The Ferris wheel reached the top. The entire city glittered with lights below. Song Wanrou suddenly took a diamond ring from her chest, her voice hoarse. Jinzhou, if we could start over. There is no if. I interrupted her, turning to look out the window, not wanting to hear more. On the second day, she personally prepared a full Manchu-Han imperial feast. I remember you like spicy food. She picked a piece of spicy fish into my bowl, her eyes gentle. Try it. I glanced at it, my voice ice cold. Hawaiian doesn't eat spicy food, so you never made this dish before, right? Song Wanrou's hand froze in midair, her fingers trembling slightly. I, in front of her, dumped the contents of my bowl, along with all the food on the table, into the trash. On the third day, she took me to the sea. As night fell, hundreds of drones formed my smiling face in the sky. Then, fireworks exploded. Jinzhou, I love you, appeared clearly in the darkness. Do you like it? She asked softly, her voice carrying a barely detectable hope. I looked at the brilliant sky, suddenly laughed. Song Wanrou, you pursued Hawaiian like this back then, didn't you? She clenched her fist, her throat tightening, her voice so low it was almost inaudible. No, only you. Everything was only for you. I remained indifferent, returning to the room afterward. Thinking tomorrow would be the last of our 7-day agreement, I planned to pack my belongings to leave, accidentally opening the bag Mrs. Shen had given me earlier. Inside was a cowhide envelope. The edges had turned yellow, as if it had been caressed many times. I hesitantly opened a stack of letters that fell out. Each letter began with the Jinzhou. First letter. Jin-Zhou. Today at the Liang family party, I saw you for the first time. You wore white. Standing in the garden feeding cats, though surrounded by noise, you seemed to be in a quiet world of your own. I stood on the second floor watching you for a long time until you noticed and smiled at me. At that moment, I knew I was done for. Writer, Shiman. Second letter, Jinzhou. I heard, the illegitimate child of the Ha family caused you trouble again. I had the butler send medicine to you, in the name of the Shen family. I don't know if you used it. Actually, I wanted to visit you personally, but couldn't find a reason. Writer, Shiman. Third letter, Jinzhou. Today is your 18th birthday. Also, the anniversary of your mother's death. I flew to North City, waited all day outside the cemetery, saw you crying at the grave. I bought the chocolate cake you like, placed it at the cemetery gate. Hope you try to peace. Writer, Jimin. Fourth letter, Jinzhou. Your father came to propose marriage, wanting the Shen and Ha families to be joined. I know he wanted his second son to marry me. This was a trap, but I still agreed, because it was the only way to meet you. If you're reading this letter, it means we are married. Please don't fear this marriage. I am not marrying you out of pity. Since I was 16, when I first saw you, I've been waiting for this day. Writer, Jimin. The letter fell from my hand. I suddenly remembered Shen Jimin's eyes when she woke up. That restrained yet profound gaze. It turns out it wasn't politeness toward a stranger, but love hidden for years. On the morning of the fourth day, I stood in the living room, calmly looking at Song Wanrou. The day has come. I must go. Song Wanrou's hand making coffee froze. Coffee spilled over from the pot, burning her hand, but she seemed not to notice. She slowly turned around, her eyes dark as she stared at me, each word firm. I said I would let you go, but on condition that you must choose. Go with Shen Jiman or stay with me. I curved my lips in a sarcastic smile. I choose to go. Before I could finish, Song Wanrou suddenly took out from her pocket a revolver, pointing it at her own temple, her eyes both frenzied and stubborn, but her voice frighteningly calm. 2 choices. You stay, or you leave. This gun has 4 bullets, 3 real, 1 blank. Next, for each word you speak, I'll pull the trigger once. This meant, only if I said, I'll stay, would she not pull the trigger? My pupils contracted. I roared in disbelief. You're crazy. Using your life to threaten me? I am not threatening. Song Wanrou smiled faintly, her eyes full of desperation and recklessness. I am just gambling, betting to see if you care about me at all. I stared at her, my chest heaving violently, anger and helplessness intertwining in my heart. Song Wanrou, don't force me to hate you. Then hate me. She smiled miserably, her eyes growing more stubborn. At least it's better than you forgetting me. Silence stretched between us. The air seemed to solidify. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, slowly opening my mouth. Bang. The first shot rang out. It was a blank. Song Wanrou didn't blink, but her forehead was beaded with sweat. Go. My voice trembled slightly, but I still tried to stay calm. Bang. The second shot rang out. Still a blank. Song Wanrou's hand shook slightly. but she still held steady. Her eyes locked onto me, forcing out a smile. Out. My fingers wouldn't stop trembling. My voice cold as ice. Bang. The third shot rang out. Still a blank. Song Wanru's face grew increasingly pale. Her breathing became rapid. I gritted my teeth, uttering the final word. Sighed. Bang. With a thundering gunshot, blood immediately spurted from Song Wanru's chest. Her body shuddered, staggering back a few steps, heavily falling to the ground. But the corner of her lips still held a smile, her mouth full of blood, her voice as weak as a candle in the wind. Jinzhou, you're so cruel. I stood frozen in place, my nails digging deep into my palm, my body trembling slightly. I watched Song Wanru's blood spread across the floor, watched her pupils gradually dissolve, watched medical staff rush in to take her away. From beginning to end, I never looked back. 1 month later, Shenjiman organized a magnificent wedding for me. The venue was filled with white lilies and vibrant roses. Everywhere was filled with the breath of happiness. The guests' blessings rang out endlessly. The pastor smiled, solemnly asking, Mr. Ha Jinzhou, do you agree to take Miss Shen Jiman as your wife, whether in poverty or wealth, health or sickness, to love and protect her forever? I looked at the gentle Shen Jiman before me, softly saying, I do. When exchanging rings, Shen Jiman suddenly lowered her voice, her expression somewhat serious. Song Wanru's condition isn't good. The doctor said the bullet was just a centimeter from her heart. Surviving was a miracle, but she may never wake up. My fingers trembled slightly, my heart rising with complex emotions, but quickly adjusting my expression, finally smiling. Don't mention her anymore. I leaned down, gently kissing the corner of Shen Jiman's lips. Late at night after the wedding, I stood alone on the balcony, moonlight shining on the ring on my fourth finger, reflecting cold light. My thoughts unconsciously drifted far, remembering long ago, the always cold bodyguard who followed behind me, Song Wanrou. Remembering her shielding me from danger, remembering the warmth when she carried me home in the rain, also remembering her falling in a pool of blood, smiling and saying I was cruel. The night wind blew by, gently wiping away. To a slight loss at the corner of my eye, I whispered softly, Song Wanrou, goodbye.